Thanks for joining me again as we look back at another great classic film. This is one of the first films to portray an authentic teenage experience, making it popular with teenagers and those who remember what it was like to be a teenager. It launched the careers of the highly recognisable cast and remains the film for which they are best known. Its writer and director developed a reputation for understanding his audience, delivering a series of films that spoke to their experiences and attracting a wide and loyal following as a result. It is The Breakfast Club from 1985. John Hughes wrote this original character and dialogue-driven drama that was light on action in just 2 days. Before Universal would greenlight this film, they wanted to see a more commercial project like Animal House, so he wrote and directed 16 Candles. Despite it not being a box office success, the studio then permitted Hughes to proceed with his original project, which had working titles The Lunch Bunch and Library Revolution. Universal executives were concerned the script had no bare breasts, wild parties or young guys drinking beer and getting into trouble, which were typical elements of the 1980s teens films. Hughes let prospective cast members look at early drafts of the script to help them pick out the parts they liked and advise on changes. Many of the subsequent changes were initiated by the cast, who were regularly encouraged to improvise. Judd Nelson made up many of the terms he used in the movie. Sheedy put Captain Crunch cereal in her sandwich to give it an extra crunching sound. Anthony Michael Hall made his character Brian's desire to vote his motivation for having a fake ID, and Bender's switchblade belonged to Judd Nelson, who claimed to carry it for protection purposes. Robin Wright and Jodie Foster were initially considered for the role of Claire because Molly Ringwald had been asked to play Alison. Ringwald pushed hard for the role of Claire because it was such a departure from her usual roles, and she was subsequently offered it. Laura Dern auditioned for the roles of Claire and Alison but was unsuccessful. Brooke Shields was considered for the role of Alison, but John Hughes preferred Sheedy, who he'd met during an unsuccessful audition for 16 Candles. At the time, Sheedy had 2 black eyes from a set building accident, and her dark gothic looks stuck in Hughes' mind, so he cast her as Alison. Michael J. Fox, Jim Carrey, Tom Cruise, Matthew Broderick and Rob Lowe were considered for the role of Andrew but weren't suitable. Emilio Estevez, who had been offered the role of Bender, agreed to play Andrew instead, as he was a better fit for that role. Nicolas Cage, Jim Carrey, Sean Penn and Rob Lowe were all considered for the role of Bender, with John Cusack auditioning several times for the part, being tentatively cast but finally passed over because Hughes felt he was too nice to play such a menacing and angry character. Judd Nelson accepted the role, and ironically Hughes, who had got along well with Cusack, repeatedly clashed with Nelson and committed to never working with him again. Bill Murray and John Candy were considered for the role of Carl, the janitor, before Rick Moranis was initially cast. Moranis grew a thick beard and played the character with a Russian accent, which irritated producer Ned Tannen, who insisted he be replaced by John Kapelos. During pre-production, Judd Nelson and Emilio Estevez went to local schools and did their best to blend in. While Estevez struggled to pull it off, being 23 at the time, Nelson became part of a clique at one of the Chicago area high schools, where he used his fake ID, which was his actual ID, to get them beer and buy them pot. He also went to a laundromat where his behaviour as Bender sufficiently alarmed people that they reported him to the police. Before filming began, the cast rehearsed the entire movie as if it were a play. Hughes set most of the movie in one room to make it easier to shoot and shot the film in sequence. The library where the students did their detention was constructed in the gymnasium of Maine North High School, which had been closed for 2 years at the time. The Chicago Public Library donated over 10,000 books to dress the set. The cast and crew remained tight during filming, eating together in the school's cafeteria and playing basketball in the gym between takes. Nelson stayed in character off camera, frequently bullying Molly Ringwald and bringing John Hughes close to firing him. Ringwald was aware of what Nelson was doing and was not fazed by his method acting. Unscripted moments included the scene in which all the characters sit in a circle and tell stories about why they were in detention. Bender flinching when Vernon fakes a punch as he believed he was going to be hit, and Bender's fist raised at the end of the film, which has become an iconic screen moment. Several sequels were originally planned, but this was abandoned in part because of the volatile relationship between John Hughes and Judd Nelson. There was also some lingering animosity between Hughes and Ringwald and Hall, who had both decided to move away from working exclusively on John Hughes films. Hughes held a grudge against them, and after this split stopped making teen movies. He also never really spoke to them and never collaborated with them on any other films. This was a 2.5-hour movie until a number of scenes were cut and the negatives destroyed, though Hughes claimed to have a complete copy of the film, but it's never surfaced. Stanley Kubrick watched The Breakfast Club 4 times and was impressed by Anthony Michael Hall, who he compared to a young Spencer Tracy. Kubrick wanted him for the lead of Private Joker in Full Metal Jacket, but after months of negotiation, Hall turned down the part, which went to Matthew Modine. Ali Sheedy disliked her character Alison's end of film makeover as she didn't like the message that she had to change herself to get a boy to notice her. Both Sheedy and Ringwald asked Hughes to change it so that her physical transformation merely involved slipping off her enormous black sweater and revealing the plain white shirt underneath. Hughes refused as he wanted a full ugly duckling becomes a swan transformation. Film critic Gene Siskel called this a teenaged Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf, and many others agreed. The films shared the conceit of people holed up together in a room and arguing, shouting, divulging personal secrets and revelations and confronting each other to move the drama. The Big Chill followed a similar formula and was another obvious influence on this film. Most critics called this the Little Chill or the Big Chill for teenagers. The Breakfast Club, in turn, has influenced movies like Before Sunrise and Peter's Friends. Molly Ringwald has said this movie is about the universal feeling we all have, especially in high school, that we're all outsiders. We all feel alone, and yet we all want to be accepted. Ringwald has expressed her discomfort with Bender, an aggressive bully who sexually assaults Claire, getting the girl in the end. Considered the quintessential 1980s film, Entertainment Weekly rates it the best high school movie. It is one of the 1001 movies you must see before you die, and alongside Ferris Bueller's Day Off, it was inducted into the US National Film Registry. Lots of good reasons to watch this film. It's easily the best teen drama ever made, and it has remained relevant among successive generations of teenagers. It has great performances from all the cast, many of whom were members of the high-profile Brat Pack, and like all John Hughes movies, it's filled with humour, drama, and numerous unforgettable images and scenes. So, what I suggest you do is that you go to our website, find our virtual screenings page, find the link to this particular film, click on it and watch it. As always, see what you think, and we'd invite you to come back. Let us know your thoughts about the film and whether you recommend it for others as well. And then we're back in the not too distant future for our next classic films review. See you next time.